What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point. I feel like it's just cliche at this point, is every week we have a new artist on here. You never know who it's going to be. We've had underground artists, we've had up and coming artists, we've had all kinds of rap, country, pop, hip hop, R&B, just a mix of everything. And it's always just cool to sit here, have these conversations, and just share stories through music, because at the end of the day, it's always key to kind of make these connections in the music business, because it's hard to really create music by yourself and really develop a craft by yourself sometimes. So always reaching out and making these connections can open so many other doors. For me, it's opened co-writes, it's opened projects that I'm producing and writing for people, and it's just always cool. So today I am here with oh my god, I cannot speak today. That's how many interviews I've done, but it is Afton Prater. And Afton, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
And not too bad. First off is I always love just people taking time out of their day to just sit here and talk about their stories through music. So I appreciate you sitting here taking the time to talk about your story, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about: hearing how you started in music, what your creative process is like, and just really what makes you stand out from other artists. So thank you for taking time to do this.
Well, thank you for reaching out and wanting to chat.
No, of course. That's always another part of this series that I love doing, is the whole reaching out process, because people always ask is like, how do you find these people? And it's just at the end of the day, just if you go on Spotify, you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, you can find so many artists that you've never heard of before. And so
Mhm.
it's crazy to me, because back when I was in high school, I was always the shy kid, and like I never really talked as much. And now back in 2020, when the pandemic hit and when I started the series, it's really developed who I am as more of a person. It's really helped me along the way to be more social and outgoing and stuff like that. So it's really powerful to just, like I said, make these connections and have these conversations.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love that like TikTok, Spotify, all that like provides a great outlet for musicians. And lately I've been seeing on my like For You page
Yeah.
a lot of, musicians I've never heard of before. And I go and I like look at their profiles, I give them a follow. It's so fun. So I love that you reached out to me on there and just was like, hey, like I have a
Yeah.
podcast and would you
Yeah,
like to be
no.
on it? I'm like, yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's always nerve-wracking to me too, like the waiting process, because like sometimes I reach out and then it takes a couple of days for artists to get back, and I'm like, uh-oh, do they want to be on? Do they not want to be on? So it's always a game too, to kind of just sit there and have the heart pound a little bit and see if they want to be on. But then at the end of the day, it always just means so much when they reach out and say, yes, I would love to be on the show. And it's crazy too, because I've asked artists too, why did you come on the show? Like, what made you want to be on here? And they've said, like, I've looked at your past interviews to see what this is all about, and they just said, I love what you're doing to help other artists out there. And just the conversation aspect of it that you have is just so refreshing and easy, because like I said, I think before the interview, as I said, the word interview sounds scary sometimes. When you hear that, it's like all like, it sounds like it's all professional and lit up and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just, for me, it's just a conversation to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So, kind of getting into the first question, is everyone knows I start with the basic of basics. And it's, where did music start for you? Because I know for me, for example, it started back in 2018. So that was only 5 years ago, give or take, 4 or 5 years ago. And some people come singing the day they were born. They start humming nursery rhymes and playing guitar by the time they're like 4 or 5. So just the basic of basic question is, where did music start for you? Where did the whole singing and playing aspect start for you?
Yeah, so I would say that music started for me. Well, my family's very musical, so I've just been surrounded by music since I was little. But my mom taught me how to play guitar when I was 11. And after that, when I was 12, I started to try to write songs. I loved like Hannah Montana, the show Hannah Montana. That was my favorite show to watch. And yeah, I wrote my first song when I was 12, and it was like some like, lovey-dovey song. And by the time I was well, I guess when I was 12 or 11, I started playing at my local fair. And that was kind of my first stage experience. And it was really exciting and really fun. And I started doing talent shows. I started playing at coffee shops. I even played like at the saloon. it was, it was really fun. And I think that after that, I was like, I love music. And my friends kept telling me, like, you need to keep pursuing this. And they kept wanting me to play at the talent shows. And I was like, okay, cool. And I kept doing the fair. And when I was 14, I put together, I think, like 5 songs that I really wanted to record. And my mom and I went to Nashville for the first time. And it was just an amazing experience. And I think for my first trip there, I was like, I want to move here.
Right.
Like, it's so cool. Everyone's so nice. These musicians are absolutely amazing. And the people here, everyone's amazing. And I wanted to be surrounded, by that environment. And so we went to Nashville. We recorded my first EP. And then when I was 16, I wrote a song called I Want a Truck. And that was actually licensed by a truck company in, I think, Puyallup, and it was called Sunset Trucks. And so that was really cool. So I had a little commercial where I was like, come on down to Sunset Trucks. And I played my song, I Want a Truck. And some opportunities came from that, where I got to open up outside the stadium for like a couple Kenny Chesney concerts. And then when I was, I think, 17, I opened for Kelsey Ballerini at the casino, which was really cool. And I love her. She's just killing it right now.
Yeah.
And so that was just an amazing experience. And I think because Washington State, which is where I'm from, like, they do have like a country music fan base, but there's not a lot of country musicians and singers. And so I think that when people wanted to hear, like, country music, they would reach out to me like, oh, Afton, she's trying to, she's a country artist that's local. And so, yeah. And then I ended up going to college at Central Washington University. And I always knew through high school, through college, that I wanted to move to Nashville. Yeah. So I would play in my little college town, and it was super fun. And then when I was 22, I finally moved to Nashville after I graduated. And so I'm in Nashville. That's where I live right now. I'm back home right now for my brother's birthday, and my best friend got married. But but I'm in Nashville right now, and I continue to write, perform, just meet, very talented people. And it's just been a blast.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I've interviewed, it's always cool, but at the same time, I've interviewed so many artists from Nashville, because like when people come on the show, like when I release them and stuff, like people are like, oh, it's probably just someone from Nashville. But at the same time, like I've also interviewed people from the UK, Australia, up in Canada and stuff like that. So, but it's always unique and cool to just hear the different sides of Nashville too, because I've interviewed at least 6 or 7 different artists from there. I can't shout them all out because I can't remember everyone's names, but big shout out to like Noah Hudson, Kyle, Brian Goyette, just a couple of them that are down in Nashville, just doing their thing. And it's just, like I said, it's just always so cool to hear people's upcoming in music and how they started and just where it all kind of came about, because I've always had the love for music, but I didn't really start this whole process until 2018 is when I really started writing and producing and then getting into the whole music industry, like putting that foot inside the door. But so it's just always cool to hear that question. And it always just, it starts the conversation about your story. So you have a couple of songs out, which you mentioned that you've been writing songs for a while and stuff like that. And we are going to get into your creative process, but kind of before we get into that, is who are some of your inspirations that you kind of really look up to? I know you said obviously you love Kelsey Ballerini, but like just who are some people, like when it comes to like writing or just like that you really listen to just to kind of get some inspiration? Who are some of your inspirations?
So I would say, like, when I was younger, I loved Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus. That was actually my first concert. Was Hannah Montana, and it was the Jonas Brothers opening up. So that was like really fun. I was like 9. But I would say when I got into like middle school and high school, was really Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I love her. I've been to a couple of her concerts. She's awesome. And then I love Miranda Lambert. I would say like my music is kind of like, I write a lot of songs about, I'm actually starting to write more songs about like hunting, fishing, family. And of course there's like your love songs too. Yeah. And like the song I just released, I Want a Truck. That's, about trucks. And I'm actually, well, where I live is like kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I just kind of grew up doing a lot of like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so Miranda Lambert, of course, I love her, and also Carrie Underwood. And I would say Eric Church.
Mhm.
I've been to a couple of his concerts. He's awesome. And Morgan Wallen. I just went to his concert in Nashville. It was
Oh,
awesome.
that's exciting.
Yeah, and I love all music, honestly.
Yeah.
Like when I hop in the car, it could be either country, it could be hip hop, it could really just be a mixture of
Yep.
whatever. So I draw inspiration from, you know, a lot of different kinds of music and a lot of different artists as well. But I would say like mainly I probably want to say like Miranda Lambert if I'm trying to get like in the country girl mood, or I
Right.
love Luke Combs as well.
Yeah.
Luke Combs is awesome. And like when I do shows like longer sets, I play a lot of like honestly, I play a lot of guy songs. I
Mhm.
play a lot of Morgan Wallen, Eric Church,
Yeah.
Luke Combs, because I just think I think they're awesome. So
Right. No, and that's
yeah.
awesome. It's just always cool to hear people's inspirations. And I'm always so jealous that people have been to so many different concerts because as much as I love music, I've actually never been to a concert before. Um,
Really?
yeah, which is crazy, but that's changing. I'm going to see my all-time favorite artist, Chris Daughtry, and then I actually am seeing Garth Brooks live too, which is through the roof for me. So I'm like
Yeah.
beyond excited
Yeah.
because they've both been on my bucket list for years, and I was supposed to go back when the pandemic hit, but then obviously that just changed everything. So it's always
Yeah.
cool to hear people's inspirations.
Yeah, I would say Garth Brooks is a big one too. I actually watched his I think he had a documentary on Netflix.
Yes.
I loved watching that. And yeah, my dad actually he's right over there. But he sang me some Garth Brooks songs growing up,
Yeah.
and uh I give him a lot of credit to why I love country music so much. And I actually have a song that I'm hoping to release or record soon,
Yeah.
that I wrote about kind of my relationship with my dad and how he's inspired a lot my
No, and that's
songwriting.
No, and that's awesome. And I relate to a lot of that. And that's going to kind of tie into the whole songwriting process when I get into this question. Is because that's how I started in songwriting as well. And I think the song I'm about to talk about is going to really relate to you and your dad's story about the song that you're writing. Is the first ever song I wrote was about losing my grandfather back in 2018. And it was sudden, and it was definitely something that took a toll on me. And that's how I really got the passion to write about music. And so I wrote a song about him passing away and just the relationship that we had together and the bonds that we had together. Because people hear in that chorus, as I tell people all the time, is just a couple of lines from it is cheering for the home team. Geez, I can't remember my own lines anymore, but no, but cheering for the home team and counting the plane, like laying in the yard, counting the planes and him yelling my name, is that was everyday stuff that used to happen here, is because he was a big football fan. So he was a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And then we used to like lay out in the backyard, just count airplanes and stuff like that. So it's just the bonds that, like when you write songs like that, there's just those are the ones that really pull people in and really get their attention. And obviously when you release that if you do, I just can't wait for that one because it's just going to be so special, and it's something that means something to you, but then also it can help other people down the road with their relationships and stuff like that.
Right. And that's what I do is at shows, I'll usually say like, this one's for all the dads out there, because
Yeah.
even if they don't like the songs, like about our like going to elk camp, like going fishing. And it's like, even if, there's a dad that didn't do that with their daughters, it still is like the bonding,
Exactly.
the bonding aspect of the song. And I'll have dads go, yeah, it talks about coaching baseball team and stuff like that. And so
Exactly.
I think like any dad and daughter could kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
So, and I, same with your song too. It's like because everyone loves their grandpas.
Exactly. No, so just songs like that really just tell a story, is that's what draws me in, is the storytelling aspect behind lyrics. And that's leading into this next question that I'm about to ask, which is your creative process. And before I kind of ask the question, is I told him the minute he gave me this quote when he was on the show, is shout out to Garrett Walker. I have to say this quote every time before I ask the question, just because it's such a great quote and it's such a great perspective to look at when it comes to songwriting. Is the song process is like a puzzle, whether you have 500 or 1,000 pieces, which I don't understand how people do 1,000 piece puzzles. I could do a 500 piece, but anyway, you have all these pieces like scattered out on the table and you're trying to figure out which piece goes where. You're trying to put those pieces together, and then you eventually start putting the border together. You work on the middle, and by the end, you have this masterpiece. You have this something that connected all the pieces and that you can hang up on the wall that you can listen to and cherish for the rest of your life. So I always love saying that quote because I feel like it really reminisces with the songwriting process. And that's my question for you, is with the couple of songs that you have out and then the songs that you're working on and stuff, what is your creative process like when it comes to making a song?
Yeah, I would say it kind of like it differs. Sometimes I'll just kind of hear something like, "Oh, I love that," or like a quote or something. Maybe something that somebody said, or I'll hear like a song that sparks like inspiration here and there. And I also have like, of course, a bunch of notes on my phone of like different, like I like this lyric, but I need to like fit it into some song, or I have like half written songs because I'll lose interest in one and then move to the next. You know how it goes.
Oh, trust
So
me, I
yeah, and like sometimes it will start if I really want to try to write a song, I'll
know.
just kind of strum my guitar.
Yeah,
Just like something just please come to me because I think the hardest part is probably starting the song.
yeah,
And then from there, you know, it's just, and then sometimes I get stuck and then I'll like contact one of my co-writers and
yeah,
say like, hey, like, do you want to help me with this song? And which I've done a couple times. And, I always think it's good to have a couple different perspectives coming in. And
exactly.
as long as it tells like what I want to say, I always make that, a goal of mine is this song saying what I want to say. And so, yeah. And of course, like I told you earlier, I plan on releasing like one song every month.
Yeah,
I recently took down all my songs. I had a lot on there,
yeah.
on Spotify and Apple Music and all that. And so I took them down because I'm kind of wanting to, this is kind of like off the question.
No, but absolutely no. Get into it.
But I'm wanting to kind of like, when I moved to Nashville, I was like, okay, I just want to put out there like who I am today, not who I was when I was 14 or 16 or any of that. And so I took down all my songs, and my plan is to either re-record or re-release the songs that I feel like are like who I am today. And so right now I have 3 out. And the next one that's coming out, I already know what it is. It's going to be awesome. I love the song, and working on the album artwork right now. And so that will be out soon. But so, yeah, one every month. And so keep an eye out. I mean, on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff.
No,
But okay, back to the creative process. It just honestly, it differs.
yeah,
It really depends. Yeah, I'll have to dive into my notes and get back onto some of the songs. I always, when we're sitting around the fire, we were sitting around the fire the other night with friends and
mhm,
family, and I pull out just like random stuff. And they're like, I love that one. You should continue working on that one. I'm like, you're right. I
yeah.
need to get back on
No, and
that.
no, absolutely. And I know exactly what you mean. I have like notebooks like filled up like ginormously with just half written songs that I wrote months ago. And then all of a sudden, like I start going back. Like I just went back to one the other day. And shout out to Maggie B, who was on the show. Like I'm working with her now on that song. I just sent it to her the other day and I was like, hey, listen, like I have these couple of lines and like I just think like we can do something with this. And I just want to get your thoughts. And then all of a sudden, like an hour later, we had this whole song written and we had this whole song basically like produced and everything. And like it's crazy how sometimes you can just go back and like hear those songs, because it's also good to have those other people come in and see what you think too, because half these songs in there I look at and I'm like, no, these aren't good enough. Like I don't think these are gonna amount to anything. But then you share them with other artists, you share them with family and friends, and they're like, no, what are you talking about? Like that's like a hit song right there. So it's always cool to see that, and it's just always cool to hear people's creative process because it's so different and so unique for every different artist, no matter what genre they're in.
Exactly. And I think living in Nashville too, I try to go to like as many writers rounds as I can and listen to, how other people are writing songs. And of course, like I take what I see and I'm like, okay, how can I take inspiration from this song that I just heard? I love that idea. How can I make it kind of like my own in a way?
No, exactly. And it's cool with this whole interview series too, because for the last year now, for since 2018 until about a year ago, I was writing songs just by myself. And I was like, no, I'm just going to do it myself. Like, I want to work on my songwriting skills and stuff like that. But then I got to a point last year, I forget who I was talking to, but I was one of my interviews, and it just kind of really sparked something in me to say, you know what? I think I have to start co-writing to kind of just gain some more knowledge on the songwriting process. And now year later from back then is I'm working with so many different artists and I'm co-writing with a lot of different artists and I'm learning a lot of different things about that process that I never had any idea about. And it's just crazy because like shout out to Gabriella Metz, who was just on the show. We finished our interview and we were just kind of talking and she's like, we should work together and do something just because like from the music that you've said and that she said. And it's special to make those kind of connections and just work on that kind of stuff together.
No, exactly. And it's always kind of like, I remember when I first like co-wrote, I think my first song that I had a co-writer was when I was 16. And it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing at first.
It is.
And it's like, and at the time, it's kind of hard sometimes to speak up and be like, I don't know if I like that line. Or like, I don't know if that's really what I'm trying to say. I've gotten pretty good at that now, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always think it's good to have, different perspectives. And if you can be open with somebody and being like, let's work on this and let's just kind of see where this goes. And,
Exactly.
like why not?
No, exactly. And it can't hurt to do that stuff because at the end of the day, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that's a quote that I live by like 100%. And when you co-write, you find out that there's a lot of talented singers. There's a lot of talented songwriters out there. And especially nowadays with all these platforms out there, TikTok, Instagram, just anything to help promote. And it doesn't matter what genre you're in. There's hundreds and thousands of new artists out there just trying to make it, put their music out there and just to get a more of a fan base and more of an experience to get their music out there. So this is leading into my next question, which is always my favorite, but always the hardest question on the show. And
I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this one. I'm like, what am I going to say?
No, exactly. And I said to you before this interview started, and like, I will say it 100 times is I don't know if someone ever straight up asked me this question, I still don't know if I could answer it properly because at the end of the day, I'm still trying to figure out who I am as an artist and where I'm going with my music and where I'm going with this series and everything. But there's so many artists out there and it's hard to create a name for yourself because kind of a way I put it in perspective, I just had an interview with a good friend of mine now is Tariq. And he basically said is it's hard because you could put a new song out there today and people would love it today and listen to it all day long. But then you wake up tomorrow and they forget about it. And that's just the way, because a new artist emerge and release their song a day after yours. So it's hard and it's difficult to really put yourself out there. So my kind of question is what makes you compared to all these other artists out there? What can we take away from your music that no one else kind of has?
Yeah, well, I think I would say that I've always said this, and I think it's like a lot in the songwriting. Well, for me at least, just being like in Nashville and seeing all the people that I've seen perform, there are just so many amazing artists. And something that I've always said is like, I don't want to compare myself to other people. I want to compare myself to myself last year or a couple years ago, because I think that just says a lot when you can look back and say, I am proud of like where I've come and I'm just going to keep moving forward. So I have to constantly remind me of my, wow, I don't even know how to talk anymore. I have to constantly remind myself of that, to not compare myself to others, just compare myself to myself.
Yeah.
And I would say it's about like experiences and what you can say in your songwriting. I always think that like you hear a song that really connects to you and like everyone can really relate to. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And I would say the direction I'm kind of going is like more like hunting, more fishing, which I don't hear a lot of like songs of girls singing that. I know like kind of old Miranda kind of, I think she still kind of does that kind of vibe and stuff. And I honestly love that. And the vibes of like hanging out with friends and family and just having a good time. And, being the girl country artist that just likes to do that stuff. And I love like nature and just being in nature. And so I kind of think like my niche is kind of just like nature-y and doing activities that are like fun like that. But also I would say that personality as well, I think, is what makes somebody stand out from the rest. I think it's just, you got to have like that whole package. Like you have to be a nice person. You have to be genuine. You have to support others in order to gain other support, which I've learned,
Exactly.
and so like, I'm constantly like, if my friend has a show, I'm going to go support them. Of course, they're my friend and I love their music. And like, you can't have that vibe of like, oh, they're really good. Like, ooh, you know what I mean? I just feel like some people, like, that's how some people think. And I'm just like,
Right.
no, that's not. You want to have friends that are also really awesome and really great and support you and like have the same, there's a quote from a long time ago that I read, and that's just stuck with me. It's like, um, you are the 5 people that you spend your most time with. So to surround yourself with like just amazing, talented people as well, that's just going to like lift you up. And so I think it's a lot about, for me, it's personality. I love to, go out and have fun and write songs that are fun as well. And I think when it comes down to like what makes somebody different and me different from others is probably like life experience,
Yeah.
because we all have that, unique experience that nobody else can really sing or talk about
Exactly.
except for you.
No,
You know
right.
what I mean?
No, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. And it's just, like I said, it's just always cool to ask that question. And there's never any wrong or right answers to it, because at the end of the day, some people are still trying to figure out who they are as an artist and who they are as a songwriter. But then some people know exactly who they are, the lanes that they want to go down and what they want their fans to take away from their music. So just always one of my favorite questions. And like I say, it's always one of the hardest questions.
It is hard because there's just so many people, that are trying to do the same thing. And so, and I would also say like drive and motivation is just like consistency. Like when it comes to like posting on social media, it's hard. Like, I'm
It
like, what
is.
can I do today? Or like, how can I like put myself out there
Exactly.
today? And I really do think it's about being consistent, just having the drive and motivation. And I'm a social media manager as well. And so I think about like the types of content you want to either, do post content that educates or entertains or like informs, people can take value from. And so I'm just constantly kind of thinking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And,
No, because no, it's hard to promote yourself. And like I've been through the struggle of like promoting the series and promoting my music and stuff, because when I was talking to Tariq earlier, like they said, you can promote and pump out a new song today and like promote this interview series today, but then tomorrow people are going to forget about you if you don't keep up with it and find new creative ways to push your music, push your content, and interact with the
exactly.
people, because it's definitely a difficult business, and a lot of people sometimes don't understand that. And I think that's why it's always great to share these stories through music, to really hear the experiences and really hear the hardship that it is in the music industry.
Yeah. And I watched like Taylor Swift's documentary on Netflix a couple times. And I love that she's just like constantly trying to like do better than she did like the
Right.
previous year. And it's so interesting to me because I'm like, girl, you're so awesome. You have so many followers. You know what I mean? Like so many
Right.
people love you, and the fact that you're constantly still trying to like just exceed what you've already done is just quite amazing. So it's like, and for like musicians like us, like we have to do that as well. It,
Yeah.
it just like never ends. You kind of keep having to try to like do better than you did months ago, or, you know.
No, exactly. And you have to kind of set these goals for yourself, and you have to figure out short term, I need to keep doing this and I need to keep doing that. And then long term, you got to kind of look like a couple years into the future. Like, where do you want to be in a year or two? How much do you want to get done? Like, how many songs do you want out? How many streams do you want to try and accomplish in that like month or two? And that kind of leads into this last question that I'm about to ask is, what are your goals as an artist? Obviously, you said like kind of right now is to release a song a month. So I know you're gonna probably get into that a little bit, but kind of short term and long term, just what else can we expect down the road from you?
So the song a month for the rest of the year is my goal. Hopefully that happens. We've been kind of like, there's just, this year's been kind of wild already. So I'm like trying to keep up with it. And I try to leave like a month between like the song I had released and then like the next song,
Mhm.
but that's not happening. That's like, it's only like 2 weeks. So I'm like, oh no. Um, I would say so, like recording some new ones as well. I have some new songs that I really want to record and put out there that I've recently written. And Just, TikTok. I'm kind of still new to like TikTok and like doing kind of like trying to post on like a regular basis. And long term, yeah. So I would say long term, or I guess short term as well. So just keep writing and meeting artists. And, I think it's a lot about networking and just kind of going out and just making friends and like being, wanting to write with people and gaining some new experience from that. And playing shows, of course, playing as many like writers rounds as I can and any shows anywhere. And traveling. I think it'd be really cool to also like kind of travel around Nashville as well, go to like in Kentucky or something, and then like
Yeah.
go. And I'm not really familiar with the area like quite yet. I mean, I've lived there for like a year and a half now, but you know, and writing, recording, performing, just kind of seeing like just where it goes. I would
Yeah.
say I'm having fun. Through it all, I'm just trying to have like a fun time doing it because I don't want to get so serious that I don't have a fun time.
No, exactly.
You
And
know what
that's
I
like the
mean?
key. That's literally that's the key word right there is fun. As long as you're having a great time with it and it's making you happy and it's something that you're pursuing that you want to do, that's just filling that void to have fun and be happy, then that's at the end of the day, for me, I know that's a goal for me is just to get to that point where I'm just happy and having a good time doing this, which I am, but I'm not at like the fullest potential of that like fun and happy place yet, but like I'm almost there. And that's just once you start doing stuff like that, then it's just the sky's the limit after that.
Exactly. And I know like I just tell myself, just have a fun time. Just go out and meet people. And I think that when you do have fun, it kind of rubs off on others. Like you show up somewhere, you want to have fun and they're having fun and we're all
Yeah.
having fun. You can't lose.
No, exactly.
So, and I do focus on like short-term and long-term goals, but I really do believe in like believe in the journey, trust the process. It's, no one who has like made it huge hasn't gone through the same stuff that we're going through,
Exactly. No, and that
and
no, that just totally makes sense. And I totally get that. So yeah, it's just always cool to ask that question as well. And that's kind of all the questions I have. And it's starting to get into it's the fun part of the interview, but it's also getting towards the end of the interview, which is so it's fun, but it's also sad because we're almost done here. But it's getting to hear a song by you, which is want to truck. And before I kind of play a little bit of that, if you want to just give us like a little, I know you kind of gave a little background on it, but just how did you really start writing the song and like just like a little background info before we play it?
yeah, so this is actually a song that I recently re-recorded and like re-released because I wrote this song when I was 16 on I think it was my second trip to Nashville. I had a co-writer. His name's Benji Harris. He's awesome. I still write with him to the day. He's just amazing. And I sat down with him. It was my 16th birthday, and he was like, I had just met him, and he was like, "Tell me about yourself." And I was like, well, I'm 16 today. And I was like, and I want a truck. I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. And then he was like, oh, that's kind of a cool song idea. And he just starts singing. He's like, I want a truck. And I was like, what? I don't know. I was just like astounded. I was like, how did he just come up with that so fast?
Yeah.
And so I recorded the song then. And I did a cool music video when I was a senior in high school in my backyard. It's available. You can watch it on YouTube. It's still there. I had a bunch of people from school. I did a group chat with like the whole school. I'm not joking. And I was like, anyone that wants to come over to my house, like we were having like free food, free drinks all day. And if you want to come be in my music video, like feel free.
Yeah.
And so we did a really cool music video to that. And then recently I had taken it down. Oh yeah. And it was the song too that the Sunset Trucks licensed. And that was really awesome. And I recently took it down and re-recorded it. I wouldn't say it sounds like much different, but I recorded it when I was 16. I'm 23 now. So I was like,
Exactly.
you can hear a little difference.
Yeah.
And the instruments as well. And so we re-released it, and yeah, who knows, maybe a new music video will come out too. That would be cool. But there also is a lyric video on YouTube.
Awesome. No, and that's exciting. And I mean, that's just such a cool song because like I could totally like if you didn't write that song, like I probably would have wrote that song back in the day too. It's just because I have a Jeep right now but my goal is I want a truck. So like I love the song and it connects with me because at the end of the day, I want a truck. Like I want to get rid of this Jeep that I have. I mean, I love Jeeps, don't get me wrong, but I just at the
You
end of
could
the
do
day,
so much.
no,
You could do so much
exactly.
with
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I just want a truck, and that's what we're going to listen to is I Want a Truck by you. So without further ado, we are going to listen to I Want a Truck.
One won't get stuck. If I could feel the wind in my hair, maybe that'd be just my luck. I gotta live. He understands that if girls got the world and she's got the steering wheel in her hands, it don't matter where we go, as long as we're on the road. We've got fun and freedom, yes, we don't need them. We're rocking 40 time. We've got the sun and the moon and the earth and the moon to take her out for a ride. I got my mind made up. I want a truck.
So I'm going to cut it off there because I want people to go listen to that. I know people give me shit for it all the time, but you got to go listen to that full song because she is just super, super talented, an amazing song. And now I want to go buy a truck. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, cool. That's exactly what it's supposed to do.
No, that's an amazing song. And the couple of songs that you do have out are super, super amazing. And obviously, I just can't wait for more music to come out from you. And I'm on the ride with you. And I know once people hear this and some new fans kind of come your way and listen to this song and listen to some of your other songs, I know they'll be on the ride with you because you are a super, super talented singer songwriter. And again, I just appreciate you taking time to kind of do this and talk about your story through music today.
No, thank you so much.
No, of
This
course.
is
No, exactly. And that's just like, it's just fun to have these conversations and do this because then maybe down the road at some point, you never know what kind of doors this will open and the stuff that will happen. So it's just always cool. And like I said, just thank you so much again for being on, sharing that song with us. And hopefully down the road, maybe we can even work together at some point.
yeah, no, that'd be great. That'd be
No,
awesome.
absolutely.
I didn't know that you wrote and stuff. So
Oh yeah,
that's
no,
so cool.
I've been writing for a while now, so feels like it's been an eternity, but it's only been a few years, but so I've been doing that and producing and stuff like that. So that's kind of the end of this episode today. You all know the drill at this point. Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, you can find new artists, new music, and I will see you all next week, and thanks for tuning in.